おはようございます。私はクリスタです。So today I am going over lessons 9 and 10, and we'll be going over the vocab, the kanji, and then the concepts. So let's get started with lesson 9, and then I'll probably make a part 2 for lesson 10 or just a second video because Zoom sucks. Okay, so let's start with lesson 9. We're going to look in the Rikai textbook on page 86. So 86 page. At the bottom of the page, right here, if you can see that, here are some vocab words that we're going to be going over. So let's start with the first one. So A is chigaimasu, which means to be wrong or something is different. Wakarimasu means to understand. Setsumei shimasu means to explain. Oboemasu means to remember. Niteimasu means similar, to be similar to something. Tetsudaimasu means to help. Tsukaimasu means to use. Denshushimasu means to practice. And then here's some words that are in the dialog box right next to it. So it says Nihongo no moji. Moji means letter. And then the second one, it says Gakusei wa testo no. I think that's the word for mae. Mae ni tango o blank. So gakusei is student, testo is test. My typically means like in this context, I think it would mean previous. And then tango, it has to do with vocab and words. Sentence 3 says sensei wa kurasu de bunpo o blank. So sensei is teacher, kurasu is class, and bunpo is grammar. And then in the second section, number 1, watashi wa tokidoki, which means sometimes, ototo, so your little brother, ototo no shukudai. Shukudai means homework. And then there's the blank. And then 2 says katakana no ka. So katakana, the writing system. Ka wa hiragana no ka to blank. So for that one, it's just saying that they're similar. So you would use niteimasu at the end of that one. And then number 3, it says gakusei wa mainichi hatsuon o blank. So gakusei is a student. Once again, mainichi is every day. Hatsuon means pronunciation. Okay, and then looking at the next page, 87, at the top of the page right here, we're going to look at those vocab words really quick. So the first one is koho, which means high school. Shogakko, remember the little tsu? Make sure you kind of make the word explosive there. So gakko. So shogakko is elementary, so elementary school. Daigaku is university. Chugakko is middle school. Daigakuin is a grad student. So for elementary school and middle school, so shugakko and chugakko. Shu has to do with like small. So the kanji for elementary school has the kanji for chisai. And chugakko has the word for middle or in, so naka. And then daigaku, or sorry, koko, which is the word for high school, it has the first kanji for takai. So takai can mean like expensive or high, so high school. And then daigaku for university, it has the first kanji. It has the kanji for oki, so big. So it's a big school, basically. Okay, and then moving down to the bottom of the page, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that's not in here that we need to go over. No, it does not look like it on that page. So we're going to go to the next page, and then we're going to look at the first concept. So on page 88 in the Rikai textbook, right here in the middle of the page, you can see that right here, it says noun 1 wa, noun 2 ga, adjective or not adjective des. So this is basically you're describing a special characteristic of noun 1. So typically this has to do with a bigger subject for noun 1. So say if you were talking about fruits in general, and then you were to talk about bananas, then you would describe what about that specific thing you are trying to talk about. So the description of the bananas, which is a fruit. So if you look at the bottom of the page in the little green book boxes down there, there's two examples of it. So it says eigo, which is English, eigo wa hatsuon, so that's pronunciation, ga skoshi, which is a little bit, muzakashi desu. So muzakashi means something is difficult. And then the one right next to it, it says eigo wa, so English again, moji, which I forgot already. Moji is letter. Moji ga kantan desu. So kantan is easy. And if you look in the middle of the page right here, it also has some vocab words that you could use. So kantan once again means easy. Muzakashi desu, difficult. Omoshiroi is interesting. Okay, and then let's look really quick at the first grammar lesson that Sensei put in Canvas. Okay, so once again, this is going to be under modules, and the specific grammar notes for each lesson are in each module. So topic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's 9 of them. So this one's going to be under topic 5, lesson 9. So this is once again the noun wa, noun 2 ga, or not adjective des. So it's used when talking about a characteristic. In this situation, it's talking about a foreign language, but it can be talking about a characteristic of a larger thing and describing that a subsect of that larger thing, and then using a or not adjective to describe it. So the example that Sensei has in here is Spango, so Spanish, wa, tango, so vocab or the words in the language, ga, kantan desu. So the vocab in Spanish is simple. So that's kind of the breakdown of this first little concept. So let's move on to the second one. Okay, so on page 89 in the Rikai textbook, second concept is at the very top of that page right here. Okay, it says noun wa, verb ru no ga. So that's putting the verb in its dictionary form. So if you know tabemasu, to eat, the dictionary form of that is taberu. Okay, and then so it's noun wa, verb in its dictionary form, so it would end in ru, no ga, or not adjective, des. So it says that it's expressing a characteristic of n or an attitude or opinion of the speaker. Okay, and then so the two examples that are right there, it says Nihongo wa, so Japanese language, moji, so the letters, o kaku, so kaku is to write. That's the dictionary form of to write. So that would be kakimasu. So you would turn that into its dictionary form, kaku. It doesn't always end in du, but sometimes it does. It just depends on the specific verb. So kaku no ga omoshiroi desu. So omoshiroi is an adjective. So you're saying that Japanese letters are fun or interesting to write. So the second example is watashi wa, so I, Nihongo, so Japanese language, o hanasu. Hanasu is to speak, so the mas form of that is hanashimasu. So hanasu no ga suki desu, so you like it. So you like to speak, so I like to speak Japanese. Is that what that sentence is? So no ga is the thing that changes it's basically the structure of the sentence, and making it into a way how you're expressing a characteristic of the noun to mean or to show an attitude or opinion of that the speaker has regarding the noun. So the noun is like the main thing, and noga is turning the verb into showing your opinion about it, showing your opinion about the noun, basically. And then right under it, it says verb ru plus no. So putting the verb into its dictionary form. So once again, tabemasu is the mas form of taberu, which is the dictionary form of to eat. So that's the verb ru plus no is the nominalization. So you're turning it into a noun of a verb by no, and it acts as a noun in a sentence. And then some ways to turn the mas form into its uh, dictionary form is in the little yellow box right below it, right here. So I'm just going to go through those really quick. So kakimasu turns into kaku, which means to write. Kikimasu turns into kiku, which it means to listen or to hear. Tsukaimasu turns into tsukau, which means to use. Hanashimasu turns into hanasu, which means to speak. Yomimasu turns into yomu, which means to read. Oboemasu means to turns into oboeru, which means to remember, and shimasu turns into suru, which means to do. So if you notice that all of these verbs end with the u sound, so kaku, kiku, tsukau, hanasu, yomu, oboeru, suru. So it has the u sound at the end, and I don't think I've ever seen a verb that doesn't have the u sound at the end. So it doesn't necessarily end with u, like the letter u. It just has the u sound in it. So ka, ku, so ku, the k, and then the u. The u is what is typically indicating that it's in dictionary form. So looking at the examples right below, right here, we're going to turn a few of these into the nominalization form of uh, the examples or the concept above. So the first one is chugokugo, so that's Chinese. Wa, moji, so letters. O, kakimasu. So we're going to turn kakimasu into the verb plus no form in this sentence. So it's going to be kaku no ga muzakashi desu. Okay, so it's kakimasu turns into kaku plus no, and then you continue with the rest of the sentence. Ga muzakashi desu. If you remember, muzakashi means difficult. And then the second one, it says eigo wa, so English, hanashimasu, so to speak. We're going to turn that into verb in its dictionary form, so verb ru plus no. So that's going to be hanasu no ga kantan desu. Okay, and kantan means easy once again. And number 3 is watashi wa bunpo, so grammar, so my grammar, o oboemasu, so oboemasu means to remember. We're going to put that in its dictionary form, which is oboeru, and then we're going to add no. So oboeru no, then the rest of the sentence, ga nigate desu. So nigate means you're weak at something, you have a weak point. And then 4 is tomodachi wa kanji o. So your friend's kanji, or your friend regarding kanji can do this. And then yomimasu turns into yomu plus no, so yomu no, then the rest of the sentence, ga tokui desu. So you are good at something. Tokui is good at something. And then looking at section 2, right underneath that, it's the noun wa verb ru no ga iwa no adjective desu. Okay, so it's basically showing you the same thing, but if you just want to have a verb and describe it, you can just do the second concept, so verb ru plus no, and then the rest of the sentence. You don't necessarily have to have um, the noun at the front, but most of the time it makes sense if you do. Okay, and so the first example in the circle 2, it says Joy-san. So Joy-san says this. So Nihongo wa moji, so uh, Japanese letters, o, and you have to pick one. Kaku no ga or yomu no ga muzukashii desu. So these kind of have to do with you listening to the audio from Marugoto. So kaku is the dictionary form of kakimasu, which means to write, and you're putting it in the noga form, and you continue with the rest of the sentence. Number 2, it says chugokugo, so Chinese language, wa, you can either say bunpo ga or hatsuon ga omoshiroi desu. So bunpo, which I cannot even remember myself, it is grammar. Bunpo, so you could either say bunpo ga or hatsuon ga. So since there is no verb here, you don't have to put the noga, it's just ga. Okay. So since I don't know what the audio is on Marugoto, we'll just pick Hatsuon ga omoshiroi desu. So the pronunciation is interesting in Chinese. Okay, and then number 3 is watashi wa Furansu go, so French, o kiku no ga or hanasu no ga skimasu. So you like, so ski, you're ski desu. Did I say skimasu? I meant ski desu if I said skimasu. So you like either to hear the French language or you like to speak the French language. And since they're both in noga, since both of them are verbs, it would go in noga form. And they're in their dictionary form, kiku and hanasu, instead of kiki or hanashi, which would be mas form. Okay, and then 4 is watashi wa eigo no tango o. So vocab in English is whatever comes next. It's either oboeru no ga, so to remember, or tsukau no ga, so which means to use, nigate desu, which means weak point. Nigate is weak point. So English vocabulary, you are either weak at remembering it or weak at using it. But they're both in their dictionary form for the verbs. So noga comes right after it, and then the er and adjective des. Okay, and then let's look at Imhoff Sensei's example for this. This is the last one. Okay, here's the next one. So once again, the noun wa, verb do form no ga, I, or not adjective des. Okay, and then this is used when talking about your opinion or other things about said noun. Doesn't necessarily have to be about studying a foreign language. Okay, so watashi wa kanji o oboeru no ga nigate desu. Okay, and then here's the romaji of it. Okay, so nigate is the antonym of tokui, which is good at. So I am not good at remembering kanji. So you're expressing your opinion about how good you are at good or bad you are at something in this case. So you would use noga. Okay, and then going back to the Rikai textbook, we're gonna flip the page and go to page 90. So 90 page. Okay, right in the middle here. It says verb te kudasai masenka. So this is politely asking a request of about something that is beneficial to the speaker. So you're going to put the verb in te form and then just add kudasai masenka. Okay, and so let's look at the examples at the bottom of the page. Let's look at number 1 and uh, let's look at number 3 and 4. So it says Nihongo no bunpo. So Japanese grammar o setsumei shimasu. So setsumei shimasu means to explain. So you're going to put that in te form and then add kudasaimasen ka. So that's going to, the te form of that is going to be setsumei shite, setsumei shite. So setsumei shite kudasaimasen ka? So can you please explain Japanese grammar to me? And then number 4 is Nihongo de meiru o kaku no o tetsudaimasu. So you're going to put tetsudaimasu into te form, which is going to be tetsudate. So the little tsu and te. Okay, and so that's tetsudate kudasaimasen ka? So can you please help with the Japanese, writing the Japanese mail, essentially. And you'll see that kaku no is, so it's possessive, so no is possessive. If it had noga, it would be expressing opinion about something, but it says no o. So it's just possessive of, I think, the mail. So writing the mail. I hope that kind of explains that. Let's look at the concept if there is one that Sensei has. Yes, okay. So when asking someone to do something in the, someone something in a time of need. So when, basically when you need something. Okay, so it says kono kotoba no imi o oshiete kudasaimasen ka? Okay, so could you please tell me the meaning of this word? So oshiete means please tell me, like to tell someone. So oshie mas, or yeah, oshiemas turns into te form, so oshiete. And imi means meaning, and kotoba means word, and kono means like this. All right, and then let's go to the next concept in lesson 9. It is so verb kata. So you're gonna get rid of the mas for the verb and then add kata. So this is how you do something. So looking at page 91, which is where this is at the top, we're going to be looking at some of these examples. Sorry if the auto went weird there. I hit my mic. So the first one, number 1, it says kanji o kakimasu. So you're going to change this to, so this means you can write kanji. You're going to change this to kanji no kaki kata. You're going to drop the mas, add kata, and then you would add something else to the rest of that sentence. So you could add oshiete kudasai. So the full sentence you could have potentially for this is kanji no kakikata oshiete kudasai. So please tell me how to write kanji. Okay, and then the second one is jisho o tsukaimasu. So using a dictionary. So in this context for kata, you're asking how to do something. So how to use a dictionary. So jisho no tsukai, dropped mas kata. So jisho no tsukai kata, and then you would add the rest of the sentence. We'll just use oshiete kudasai for all of these. So please tell me how to use a dictionary. Okay, and then number 3, it says tango o oboemasu. So tango is vocab, oboemasu is to remember. Tango, so you would change that into tango o oboe kata, and then you would add whatever you want the rest of the sentence. For this one, we're just going to use 教えてください again. So 単語を覚え方教えてください. So please tell me how to remember vocab. And then number 4, it's 発音を練習します. So 発音 is pronunciation. 練習します is to practice. So we're going to change that into 発音の練習の仕方. And then you're going to add whatever you want to the rest of the sentence. Once again, we're going to use 教えてください. So 発音の練習の仕方です。仕方教えてください. So you're asking, please tell me how to practice pronunciation. And the reason why 練習 is split from this し is because you're asking to do something. So 練習 is to practice, and then します is to do something. So please tell me how to do practice for pronunciation. It's kind of how that would be interpreted. So let's see if Sensei has a example on that. Okay, kata. So used when asking how to do something, when you're asking about a specific thing, doesn't need to be foreign language necessarily. So 見方 example この漢字の書き方を覚えてくださいませんか? So くださいませんか is kind of using the last concept we just talked about. So the politely requesting for someone to do something. So instead of just saying 教えてください, you could say 教えてくださいませんか? So like, oh, can you please tell me how to write this kanji? And then someone might respond, いいですよ. So yeah, sure, no problem. So since I made a note that V can be made by taking out mas from verb mas, as in ikimasu turns into iki. And then she also made a note, V kata expresses method or procedure of how to do something. Determining the particle, I'm still confused about. So that one I would ask Imhoff Sensei on. Like when to use no or o in the context of the sentence. I'm guessing it has to do with a relation to something. So if like you're talking about like kanji or a dictionary, so jisho, and you're talking about something related to that, I guess you would use no. And if it's something that's kind of not necessarily related, like tango, which is vocab, o oboe must to remember how to do vocab, it's not directly related. So I'm guessing that's why you would use o instead of no for the particle. And then I believe that's all in chapter 9 in the textbook. Let me look at the Katsudo textbook and see if there's anything in there real quick.